All right, guys, welcome to another episode. It's a real pleasure to have you join me today. Matt Hamilton is my name, for those of you who haven't tuned in before. Today we're going to talk about the need for the piece of paper. Is it really relevant? I'm talking about formal university qualifications or really any tertiary qualifications in business or leadership. Now, I've been in a position before where I've had to answer this question and consider it very carefully. I'll give you a little bit of detail around that for context. So I was in a situation where I had actually several years of people leadership experience. I was able to demonstrate that on the resume. I'd had really good results. I'd had really good feedback, but my leadership experience at that time was constrained to one organization. So people in my team knew I was good at the job. People within my organization knew that I was good at the job. But I was forced to grapple with the prospect of what would happen if I went to seek a job elsewhere based purely on experience. And at that point, I wasn't talking about 20 years of experience. I was talking more like 3 or 4 years of people leadership experience. And I noticed that the trend, certainly in the corporate world where I worked, was that most people in formal corporate disciplines had university degrees. Okay, whether it was a bachelor's level degree or higher, most people in my immediate circle at that time had university degrees in what I'd call traditional business disciplines, whether it was accounting or economics or things of that nature. Okay, so it was something that was in the back of my mind. Do I think I'm going to need to go to university at this stage to be competitive if I'm to go for a traditional leadership position in future? And I came away with the decision that yes, I did need to pursue formal qualifications in business, okay, to complement the real world people leadership experience that I had at the time. And the way that I chose to do that was by studying through the Australian Institute of Business, and I studied an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration, and I obtained that after several years of really hard work while working full-time. But I do believe that it set me up for the future and gave me that credibility on paper combined with the real-world practical experience to make me a really attractive prospect. It brought credibility to the resume above and beyond what just the level of experience that I had at the time would. Now, to be very clear, as a hiring manager, if I'm choosing between two applicants and one of them has 15 years of demonstrated people leadership experience versus someone who has 5 years of people leadership experience and a master's in business administration, I'm going to be leaning towards the person who has greater experience just based on paper. And that's simply from the practicality standpoint, okay? I know that theory is all well and good, but there's nothing like experience. There is no substitute for experience. Ideally, you want both. You want the formal, qualification coupled with the many years of experience. But if I'm having to choose between one or the other, I'm taking the person that has the real world experience. Because in my mind, that counts for a hell of a lot. It counts for more. And it doesn't really matter the industry or occupation that I'm referring to here. It is just about in every scenario, across every discipline or profession you can think of. I'm taking the person who has the experience over the person who just has the piece of paper, okay, with a little experience. Having said that, don't lose sight of how valuable an addition that a formal business qualification can be with respect to shoring up your future career prospects. Now, I happened to go and do university a bit later in life simply because, one, I saw a need. I knew that I needed to be as competitive as possible from a security perspective. You know, if I ever wanted to move on, I saw a gap and I was driven to fulfill it because I wanted to make sure that I was setting myself up for the future. But above and beyond that, there was also the challenge of, well, hey, you know, if I'm interested in this line of work and I've been doing it practically for a long time, what's to say that I couldn't go and study this course and be really good at it and really enjoy it? And that is exactly what I found happened. I studied this MBA and I absolutely loved it. It was hard work, but I actually enjoyed it because I was interested in the subject matter. I was good at the subject matter. So I actually got better academic results over that master's degree than in any other study that I'd ever done. And I'm convinced that it was because I enjoyed and was genuinely interested in the subject matter. That counts for a lot, okay? And as a result, it now means that I've got those formal qualifications to back up the years of experience. So that's a personal anecdote. You'll have to make your own decision. As I said, I do think experience counts for more. I'm certainly not one of these people that puts, you know, a disproportionate amount of weight behind a degree or a certificate. I want to see the real world practical application, okay? A piece of paper means nothing to me if you're unable to execute it in the real world. Having said that, some of these courses are very valuable and they can give you some really good information to complement your practical experience. And you will find your practical experience helps you study the course, and you will find at the end of that process, the course helps you adjust in areas of your practical profession. Okay, you will take things that you've learned and tweak and modify, you know, here and there, and they both complement each other. Plus, it's really cool to challenge yourself. It is important to keep growing and evolving, and maybe this is one of the ways that you can do that. Okay, I found that it was particularly easy to study through the Australian Institute of Business. It was all online. I could watch the lectures on my time or just listen to them. I often did it on the way into or coming from work, okay? And then, of course, there was a lot of very late nights and long weekends writing assessments. It wasn't easy, but I would say it was worth doing. So there's a little bit of a personal anecdote on, you know, what I found from my personal experience. It might be different for you. It's a decision you'll have to make. Please don't forget the financial commitment that you are undertaking as well when it comes to study. Now, it depends on what part of the world you're in. If you're in America, it is a very different proposition to those of us living in Australia, for example. However, regardless of how and when you have to pay that debt, it is still a debt that sticks with you. Okay, by the time my university degree was all finished, I owed about $40,000, and that amount was indexed every year, sometimes to the tune of 4% or greater. And of course, if you're earning over a certain amount in Australia, then a mandatory loan repayment fee is deducted from your fortnightly salary, and that goes towards paying off the loan. I did have situations where I thought to myself, geez, I would love to have that extra money in my pay packet because things are expensive right now. And if you've got kids or a lot of expenses to service, that is something to pay attention to and consider before you jump in and make the commitment. The other thing I'll say in closing is if you're not prepared to work long hours, okay, on weekends and weeknights, don't do it, all right? Don't start it if you're not going to finish it, all right? It is a commitment. Don't underestimate how difficult it is and take it seriously. Guys, I hope that helps, and I'll see you for the next one.